Hello, fellow Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Pleasanton. This meeting is being recorded and will be available for viewing on our YouTube channel. I want to welcome all of our visitors, and I hope you enjoy today's meeting and come back again. If any visitors want to learn about becoming a member, please see Ricky Walters right in the center here. Thank you. Today's greeter, I want to thank, was Gary Swaggerly. Gary, where are you? And Ricky for running all the technology every day, every time we have a meeting. I want to thank Brad and Cove for establishing our presentations each week. And at this time, I'd like to do the pledge. Randy Brown, would you? Okay.
Please join me, address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Randy. Please be seated. Bob Tucknott has agreed to do the We Care today.
Okay, here we go. We care. I have any we cares over here? We care. Nobody cares over here. We care. Easiest job I ever had in my life. I wander around, ask for we care. Nobody said we don't care.
Thank you. I'd like to share some good news here. My daughter, youngest daughter, Rachel, she spent a couple years at Las Positas, and today is her first day as a biotech major at University of California, Santa Cruz.
Good job. Any other we care? You don't care. Let's give them a we care on you.
President Jim and fellow Rotarians, I'd like everyone to understand that it's Jack Brass's 95th birthday today. So wish him well.
Hold on, George, waiting for it. I'm waiting for that bike to get in there. I'll see if we got any over here. I'm selling for time. Any more we care? Not?
Well, I don't know if this is a We Care opportunity, but we just got back from 4 weeks in Turkey, and I want to express that I'd like to know why our country can't solve the homeless issue, because Turkey, I couldn't find one single person sleeping on the streets or anything. Everybody was being taken care of. Oh, like the dogs. Oh, that's it. Okay. I guess that's the answer. Thank you. Like I said, I didn't think it was a We Care.
Thank you. Any more? Okay. President Jim, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. And at this time, I'd like to ask John Patton to come forward. He's going to do our inspiration today.
Thank you, President Jim. My inspiration today is I have kind of a fascination for trivia and things that happen in history. And I'd like to start out by just asking if anybody knows what the holiday is today. Good try. Today is National Good Neighbor Day. It's a national holiday in the U.S. I didn't know that until I started looking at this. In the early 70s, it was started by a woman in Montana, and she created this National Good Neighbor Day as a day to connect with and recognize the importance of strong leaders. And originally, the holiday was established as September 24, not 26, by a proclamation signed by President Jimmy Carter. And In 2004, the US Senate passed a resolution brought by a Montana senator who had designated the September 26th as National Good Neighbor Day. And today, neighbors are adopting the good neighbor mindset for the day and making where they live a better place. I think this kind of fits in with what Rotary is. So there are a number of historical events that occurred on September 26th at various times. Because this is supposed to be somewhat inspirational, I'm not going to talk about most of them because a lot of them are tragedies and bad circumstances, but here are some good things that happened on that day. In 1580, Sir Francis Drake finished his circumnavigation of the earth by landing in Plymouth, England. On this day in 1789, President George Washington appointed Thomas Jefferson as the first United States Secretary of State. On September 26, 1905, Albert Einstein, probably the most brilliant person that ever lived, published one of the most important papers ever, which introduced the theory of relativity. In 1933, on this day, FBI agents got their nickname when Machine Gun Kelly surrendered to them, shouting out, "Don't shoot, G-men." And in 1950, on this day, the US and the United Nations troops, they recaptured Seoul from the North Korean forces. And finally, in 1960 in Chicago on this day, the first televised presidential debate took place between candidates Richard M. Nixon and John F. Kennedy. And I suppose a few of us watched that. And now there's also a lot of somewhat famous persons that were born on September 26th. Again, I'm chosen just a few of them because they seem inspirational to me. Some of the others I either didn't know about or they weren't very good people. They were famous. And I'm going to tell you about three of them as well. In 1774, a fellow named John Chapman was born. Does anybody know who John Chapman was? Very good. So, and the following description was written about this fellow. His personal appearance was singular as his character. He was a small, chunked man, quick and restless in his motions and conversation. His beard, though not long, was unshaven, and his hair was long and dark, and his eye black and sparkling. He lived the roughest life and often slept in the woods. His clothing was mostly old, being generally given to him in exchange for apple trees. He went barefooted and often traveled miles through the snow in that way. He wore on his head a tin utensil, which answered both as a cap and a mush pot. Chapman cared deeply about animals. It was said he once started a winter fire near the end of a hollow tree in which he intended to sleep. But when he discovered that the tree was occupied by a mother bear and her cubs, he put out the fire, it was near the bears, and he slept on the other end of the log in the snow. In another story, he heard that a horse was about to be put down, so he bought the horse, bought a few grassy acres nearby, and turned it out to recover. And when it did, he gave the horse to somebody that was needy of the horse in exchange for a promise to treat it humanely. Johnny Appleseed is remembered for all he did for nature, leaving a legacy of planting apple trees all over the Midwest. Some other people born on this day, in 1849, Ivan Pavlov, a Russian physiologist and physician, He was also a Nobel Prize winner, known for his discovery of classical conditioning through experiments on dogs. And they were not harmful experiments on these dogs. In 1888, T.S. Eliot, an English poet and playwright, was born. He also won the Nobel Prize. In 1897, Pope Paul VI was born on this date, September 26. In 1898, maybe the greatest composer America has ever produced was born, George Gershwin. In 1914, Jack LaLanne, an American fitness expert, was born. And in 1925, Marty Robbins, an American singer and songwriter and an actor, was born. Marty Robbins was a favorite of mine when I was a kid. He had a terrific voice, and he wrote and sang many wonderful songs like El Paso, Devil Woman, Big Iron, and a white sport coat and a pink carnation. One of my favorite songs of his is one called Cool Water. And it's about Marty and his pal Dan, and they're traveling through the desert. And here's one of the stanzas from the song. Thankfully, I'm not going to try to sing it. I'm just going to read it. And it goes like this. The shadows sway and seem to say, tonight we pray for water, cool water. And way up there, he'll hear our prayer and show us where there's water, cool, clear water. Back to the birthdays. In 1945, an English singer and songwriter named Brian Ferry was formed. I don't know how many people followed his band, but it was called Roxy Music. In 1948, on September 26th, Olivia Newton-John was born. And in 1981, American tennis player Serena Williams was born on September 26th. She won 23 Grand Slam singles titles. Amazing accomplishment. So I have one last birthday to give you and talk about. He's a personal hero of mine that you might not know of. This fellow's name was Joe Brown. He was born on this day in 1930. He was an English mountaineer and author and known as a hard man. Joe was a working class bloke his whole life when he wasn't climbing some of the most difficult peaks in the world. He wasn't very big, but he was strong, tough, and fearless, and he was able to survive in the toughest conditions imaginable. He never complained about hardship and was direct and to the point. When asked how he reached the handholds because of his small stature, he said, well, I just climb up to them. And here's a phrase that another climber wrote in a tribute to him, which is called the Ballad of Joe Brown. He's like a human spider clinging to the wall, suction, faith, and friction, and nothing else at all. But the secret of his success is his most amazing knack of hanging from a hand jam in an overhanging crack. So if you get a chance, read about the life of Joe Brown. And if you can read it, there's lots of books in which he's involved. It's truly an inspirational person. So there's more inspiration coming from September 26th than meets the eye. And I wish you all a happy National Good Neighbor Day. Thank you.
Thank you, John. How appropriate for Jack Brass's birthday that we celebrate the birthdays of all those wonderful people. And also, you forgot my mother was born on this day too. I forgot to thank Steve Narrett for being the attendance taker today and stepping in for the person that was supposed to be here. Yeah, I wasn't going to name him because he's going to be here at another time. I also would like to welcome any visiting Rotarians and have them introduced.
From the Rotary Club of Dublin, in the classification of electrical contractor, the one and only.
Welcome, Bob. Any other visiting Rotarians? All right.
I'm going to introduce the speakers shortly, but this is Joyce Mercado from Alameda County, excuse me, from Alameda, in the category of technical salesperson. That's Joyce.
And also, I would like to, do we have any guests of Rotarians today?
Thank you, President Jim and fellow Rotarians. I'd like to introduce possibly our first remote guest. I'd like to introduce Deborah Messina. She is working for Pleasanton Unified School District, but she lives out of San Diego. Deborah is part of the work-based learning. She's a teacher and coordinator for that program. And I'll also share that she's been instrumental in helping our company hire 8 interns, including 2 cybersecurity apprentices. Please welcome Deborah Messina.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy to be here remotely from San Diego County.
Welcome. Any other visiting Rotarians? Yes, I knew that. I was just checking to see if you remembered that.
I'd like to introduce Nels Toriano, who lives in Dublin, and he has a couple of businesses. One is Insperity, which is a HR company. Is that correct? And he also teaches martial arts in the evening. He's open to do seminars and individual. And he said from 5 to 95. So I'll see if I can get Jack Brass interested. Yeah. So thank you for coming, Nels.
Thank you, Tom, and welcome. All right, we do have Zoomers today. We already met Ms. Messina. We have Audrey and Steve McCoy Thompson. Hello, Steve. Hello, Audrey.
Hello. Sorry, I
good to
can't be
see
there
you.
today.
And welcome.
As member co-chair, I spent the morning calling up some local business owners to see if they wanted to build community and network and grow their business. And so if you all know any local business owners that would like to join us, please welcome to a free lunch.
Sounds good. Audrey, what have you been doing today?
Oh, well, I have a cough that I'm sure you don't want to catch. So I'll just attend remotely. Thank you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you. Welcome. All right. We have a song today.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. Today's song is This Little Light of Mine. And I want you to sing it fine like I know you kid. Let's go.
Thank you to Don and Julie. At this time, you have an announcement.
Hey, fellow Rotarians, it's so good to be back in Pleasanton, even though there's no place to snorkel. But I had a great summer of snorkeling and hiking, and I feel very refreshed and happy to be back. So I sent out a email blast to everybody this morning, rather than bringing a bunch of flyers and wasting paper. So check your emails, but you might remember in March, we had a young lady, 15-year-old young lady, Mina Fu, who won one of the first Rotary Club of Pleasanton, Don Lewis Say Yes to Music grants. And Mina's mission is to help underprivileged kids or socioeconomically challenged kids to have music training and learn to play instruments. And she came here and we showed a video of her, and everybody stood up and didn't want to end. She's amazing. She's a powerhouse. So she is having her fundraiser for her organization on Sunday at 3:00 at the firehouse. It's a free concert, and they're just accepting donations for her organization, which is called Music for Minors 2. And you're all welcome to come and support Mina. It'll be an energetic and amazing. She's a virtuoso, so you'll really enjoy the concert, I know.
Thank you, Julie. Ricky, do we have an international video? Sure. All righty.
Each year to deserving organizations doing great work. We volunteer around town. We host events such as annual Christmas parties for senior citizens and physically challenged children. We work together with the public library to host workshops for low-income residents, or with the school boards to host a youth leadership expo. We spend a weekend at Camp Scugog every year fixing up the camp's facilities. We send Rotarians around the world on sweat equity trips to places like Malawi, Sri Lanka, El Salvador. The club hosts weekly Friday lunch meetings with fascinating speakers on a wide variety of topics. And of course, these weekly meetings, like all Rotary events, provide opportunities to network with the club's diverse membership, people coming from different walks of life, working in a wide swath of industries and professions. We're also about fun. We've got a ton of different social and fellowship events, meals and or drinks, attending local festivals, events, or shows. We do so much for so many. Come see what we can do for you or how you can join us in making a difference in your community.
Thank you, Ricky.
The Rotary Club of Toronto is.
And speaking of doing so much for so many, I have an announcement. I've just had a conversation with Gary and Nancy, with Gary last week, and Gary and Nancy have decided to retire from the WASH program. So for us, well, first of all, thank you for everything you guys have done for so many years. And it's going to be a hard road to hoe going forward unless we find someone that's going to take over the coordination of that program next year. And we have a wealth of information in Gary and Nancy about how to do it. So if there's anybody that you know that's interested in taking over the reins of our WASH program, I know Gary and Nancy would spend the time that you would need to learn how it works. So, and if you're not interested, maybe you can talk to people and convince, like Mike's really good at getting people to do stuff. So maybe we can convince somebody to do it, but it's such a wonderful program and we want to keep it going. So again, thank you to Gary and Nancy for everything you've done for the WASH program and people all over the world. So thank you. Yes, sir. Yes.
I would just say that my secret to success is alcohol. If you want to have a meeting, just promise people alcohol and they will join up. And while I have the I just want to remind everybody of the progressive dinner on Saturday. And I noticed because Gary told me that we had left Jeff Williams' address off the last email. So if you're going to Jeff Williams' house, you probably don't know where you're going, Tom Fox. So I'm going to send out another email probably tomorrow and give everybody a reminder. It's going to start at 5 o'clock at Tom's house. And then we'll leave around 6:45 and go to our host houses and should have a good time.
If we don't get Jeff Williams' address, then there'll be 16 people at your house.
That would be fine.
Mike, thanks for coordinating that. And I know it's going to be a wonderful time. My wife and I are going to be out of town, so we'll miss it, but we've always enjoyed it in the past. Also, just a quick announcement on October 31st, which is a fifth Thursday of next month, we're going to have our club assembly, and we'll spend a little more time talking about the WASH program and what that entails. And also, we have a 60th anniversary this year. So, put your thinking caps on and start thinking about how we want to celebrate that. And if anybody's interested in coordinating that, I'd be anxious to hear from them. And at this time, I'd like to have Anshu Methi come forward and introduce our student of the month.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Today we have the student of the month from Amador Valley High School for the month of September, Helen Huang, and we have the vice principal, Andrea. So I would like her to say a few words about her, and then we'll do the presentation of the certificate.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of Amador Valley High School, we are very proud of Helen. She's an exemplary student, and her parents are actually exemplary too. So they're very involved in her education. She's very involved in our school. She's a top student, looking forward to going to one of her many opportunities for colleges in the fall. So thank you all for this honor for her. And thank you, Helen, for being amazing.
So on behalf of our club, I'm going to present her with a $100 check. Congratulations, and a certificate. Okay, congratulations once again. What would you like to say?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's such a wholesome community here. It's my first time here at this Rotary Club, but I just really love how your whole club emphasizes this human connection. And even though I've only been here for a couple minutes or so, it's been a very fun experience. And I really appreciate you recognizing and helping youth like me. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Anshu, and congratulations, Helen. And Andrea, it's nice meeting you. At this time, where am I? Oh, I just want to add Cove Corey to come forward and introduce our speaker.
Thank you, President Jim. Fellow Rotarians, guest Rotarian, it's my pleasure to introduce today Joyce Mercado. Joyce is the immediate past president of Alameda Rotary, and she is the president-elect for next year of Alameda Rotary. So she's taken on quite a task for herself. Joyce, please come and join me. So Joyce has just published recently and back in May, a book called Save the Planet in Your Spare Time. a climate protection handbook for the busy person. And in reading Joyce's bio, she's a 35-year IBM employee. She started off in physics, ended up at Princeton. Well, for our Cal Poly alumni, that's where she got her bachelor's degree. Yeah, there we go. And then she went to Princeton and got her graduate degree there. Joyce, about 20 years ago, got involved in the climate change programs. And she was doing that while she was fully employed. Now retired, she is now marketing herself to climate groups, to various organizations to promote climate. And as you can see with the title of the book, it's simply a climate protection handbook for the busy person. Okay, Joyce, all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And then do you have a clicker? So while he's pulling it up, I thought I'd go over why I wrote this book in the first place. So last year, I read a report from the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change, which is a group of hundreds of scientists who study climate change and then make policy recommendations to governments around the world. And the report last year was especially grim. It indicated that if we're going to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius and avert the worst of climate change impacts, we're going to have to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030, which isn't very far from now, and get to zero by 2050. So I thought to myself, I've been working in Alameda thinking globally and acting locally, but I've got to do something more. And I thought, what if I start to think globally and act globally too? So I thought, well, I'll put together a book that describes what I've been doing in Alameda so that others can learn from my experience and hopefully do similar things in their hometowns. And then hometown by hometown, we'll get people protecting the climate, and that'll be part of the solution to climate change. So that's why I wrote the book. So that's that. And then why did I get involved in, let's see, I pushed the button. Nothing is happening. I pushed the arrow, right?
Yeah, it should work, but I can do it.
Yeah, you can do it manually for me. So just go to the next chart. But why did I get involved in climate change to begin with? About 20 years ago, I read an article in the National Geographic magazine that was all about climate change, and being the nerd that I am, what really impressed me was a chart. So it was this chart similar to this, where you have the temperature of the earth in white and the carbon dioxide concentration of the atmosphere in blue. And you can see there's a pretty strong correlation between the two. And if you advance it one more, that's where we are today. Oops, now we're, oops, back one. Yeah, that's where we are today, off the chart. So in terms of carbon dioxide concentration. So that made me, that was my wake up call. And I thought, I've got to do more than just change a few light bulbs. Okay, we can go to the next chart. And the first thing I did was get my bike out of the garage and start biking for errands around town. And then I put baskets on the back and the front and started hauling groceries around with bungee cords and really cut back on my driving. So and then I put lights on it so I could bike at night. So if we can go to the next chart. And then I finished changing out the light bulbs. Okay, next. I got a home energy audit from the local power company, and they made several recommendations to me that helped me reduce my natural gas and electricity usage. Okay. And then when I did drive, I tried to drive efficiently. And one thing that's important is to make sure you've got proper air pressure in your tires. That can save up to 3% on your gas mileage. So that's a significant difference. And then the more stuff you're hauling around, the less efficient your gasoline mileage is. So I cleaned out the trunk of my car from hauling around too much stuff in there. Maintain my regular maintenance schedule.
got into carpooling for more things than commuting to work. I got into it for dealing with kid activities. So this saved a lot of time. And the interesting thing was, especially when they were teenagers, the teenagers don't tell you too much what's going on in their lives. But if you're hauling around them and their friends, they talk to each other and you can hear what's going on. I learned an awful lot of interesting things that way on the carpooling. And then there's the UPS trick, where UPS lays out all of its routes for delivering packages in a clockwise manner rather than counterclockwise. That way you're making right-hand turns instead of left-hand turns and idling less. So next. And between those two things, the bicycling and driving efficiently, I was able to reduce my filling up the tank once every 1 or 2 weeks to every 6 weeks. So that was a big difference. Then everything that we use or consume takes energy to get the raw materials, manufacture, ship it, and ultimately dispose of it. So the less stuff we use, the better. So that's why it's important to embrace the R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot, or compost. And I was already doing a pretty good job of recycling and composting, but I needed to improve on reduce and reuse. So I did a little shopping. I got a reusable coffee mug and a reusable water bottle. And I bought instead of paper napkins, I got cloth napkins. And instead of paper towels, I got dish racks. And so that saves on paper and single-use items. And then for catalogs, instead of just recycling the catalogs, I started calling up the catalog companies and getting them to remove me from their list. And so that cut back on the catalogs. Next. I also work towards getting a primarily plant-based diet. I'm not perfect about this. Like today, I did eat the chicken. But I cut back. First thing I did was cut back on beef and lamb because those animals burp up methane gas, which is a really powerful greenhouse gas. And also with the cattle, it's responsible for a lot of deforestation, which is a bad thing for the climate. So I started with that and switched to turkey and chicken and fish, then slowly cut back on those and replaced it with more legumes. So that's the best earth-friendly diet is a plant-based food diet. Next, we did solar panels on the roof. Next. And then I put up a clothesline. And I would put the clothes up on the line before I head to work. And the kids' job when they got home from work was to haul the clothes and fold it off the clothesline. They didn't like that too much, but they survived. And yeah, so that was the next thing we did. And going forward, I started washing my clothes in cold water. Today's detergents are formulated to work in cold water. So they come out just as clean as if you use warm or hot water. But most of the energy that you consume when you're doing a load of laundry goes into heating up the water. So if you use cold water, you really got an advantage. And also with cold water, it's easier on your clothes and your clothes last longer, which is also a good thing. Then also doing only full loads. So that helps. And then we replaced our gas dryer with an electric dryer that's powered by the solar panels. So that was what else I did. And then the most recent thing I did was get a Tesla. So I drove down in my Tesla that was powered by the solar panels. So, and I did a lot more things too, but this gives you a flavor of some of the things I was doing. But as I was doing it, if you can go to the next chart, as I was doing it, I thought, well, I'm just one person. I'm not making that big of a dent in the problem. It's just me. So I was leading by example, yes, but I wanted to do more than that. So I found out that most people I spoke to wanted to do more, but they didn't know what else to do besides change some light bulbs and maybe put in solar panels. So I wrote a checklist of 70 different things to do to protect the climate. And I forgot to ask you beforehand to hand. If you can hand those out. It's 70 different things you can do to protect the climate on one side. And then resources to help you do the things on the checklist on the other side. And this is tailored towards Alameda, but it still could be used for your town as well. And my hope is that in my book, I give people the link to where you can download it and you can customize it to Pleasanton if you like and put it up on the Rotary website. So that would be a good thing for you to do. That's what I'm challenging you to do. And I've handed out thousands of these checklists in Alameda to residents to get more people acting to change the climate. Ready? Then the next thing I did is, as I was going through making changes to reduce my own carbon footprint, I wrote letters to the editor about each of the changes I was making. So I wrote one about riding my bicycle and the benefits to riding the bicycle and how easy it was in town to do that and so forth. So each change I made, I'd write a letter to the editor and they published them all. I was surprised. And then I wrote so many letters to the editor that after a while, the editor of the paper called me up one day and asked if I'd want my own column on climate change. So I became a columnist. So I was a little nervous about saying yes to that because I'm not a writer. I was a physics major, but I did it and it's been a lot of fun. Okay. And letters to the editor are a great way to reach lots of people because people read the letters to the editor. You can reach thousands of people with about 1 hour work to put together a letter to the editor. Then when I retired and had a little more time, I went to the Al Gore Climate Reality Project training where they teach average citizens how to give presentations on climate change, on the a little bit on the science of it, the fact temperatures are increasing, the climate impacts, and then the solutions available. And then I close out by handing out this checklist. And I did that for all sorts of different community groups in Alameda. So that's another thing you can do. Next. It's also important that as you see things in town that need changing, you could be the one to change them. So I saw my son's Little League fields. They did not have composting and recycling bins. They just had garbage bins. So I called up the head of Little League and said I wanted to help get them to composting and recycling as well. He said, well, you have to talk to my garbage volunteer. So I called him up, Tony, and he listened to what I had to say. And he said, well, I don't know much about composting and recycling. I'm in this for vermin control. He was all about keeping the kids safe from pests. But he said, well, I don't have anything against composting and recycling. So if you help me, we'll do it. And so he asked me to put together a list of what goes in each bin based on what stuff we have at the snack bar and so forth, and make signs for the bins. So I made signs for the bins and sent him off an email with a list of what goes in which each bin, because he had no idea how to sort. And he ordered the bins from the garbage company and away we went. And so that only took me 2 phone calls, 1 email, and making some signs. And we got it implemented at the Little League fields. So it wasn't really too much work. And then it was very rewarding to see people at the Little League fields coming up with their used nacho trays and putting it in the proper bin. And Tony got so into this that he and his son would fix things when people put things in the wrong bins. And he also went to the snack bar and convinced them to stop using styrofoam cups. So he went from someone who didn't even know how to sort to stopping waste at the source. So that was really pretty cool. We can go next. Another little project I did was with the food bank. Many of the things on the checklist save you money. Not things like putting in the solar panels would be a big investment for someone at the food bank, but most of the things on there you can do for free and they save you money. So I approached the food bank and said, how would you feel about me handing out my checklist at the food bank if I can also get the local power company to donate some compact fluorescent light bulbs? And so they said yes, and I called up AMP, our local power company, and they agreed to donate like 1,000 light bulbs, and we handed them out at the food bank. So we can go next. I got my Rotary Club involved with planting trees. So there's a group in Alameda called 100,000 Trees for Humanity, a nonprofit, and they get us the trees at cost. We use some of our DDF funds each year for this. And then I call up the Park and Rec Department to see which parks needed the trees that would have irrigation so that we would have long-term maintenance for the trees. And then picked a date and away we went. We showed up with the Rotarians, 100,000 Trees for Humanity, the Park and Rec Department, and we put trees in the ground. And everyone had so much fun the first time we did this. Now we do this every year, like twice a year, using DDF funds. Yes, next. Another thing we do with the DDF funds with 100,000 Trees for Humanity is give away tree saplings at our city's Earth Day event. And this is a very nice way to interact with the community. So I have my poster with all about our club and the things that we do, and then hand out saplings for people to plant in their yards. The first year we did this, we did oak tree saplings with only limited success because not everyone has room for an oak tree. So we learned, and next year we got fruit tree saplings. And that was a big success. We got rid of all of our fruit tree saplings. Okay, next. But in addition to lowering our own individual carbon footprint, getting policy changes implemented through our government is also important. And there's really two aspects to this: getting the right people elected and then holding their feet to the fire once they're elected. So getting the right people elected is doing your research up and down the ballot to see who's going to be taking care of the climate with their policy changes. And then you can not only vote for them, but I help campaign for them, make donations, do postcarding, walk a precinct, text banking, phone banking. I've done all of those. And it doesn't have to take up that much time. Each of those things can take an hour of your time. And so that's getting them elected. But then once they're in office, trying to make sure that they're implementing appropriate climate change policies. There's an app for that now called Climate Action Now. And it's based on your zip code. It knows who your state and federal representatives are. And there's canned letters that you can send off about upcoming bills that protect the climate or don't. And so you can shoot off those letters. I do 10 to 15 every morning in about 5 minutes. So it's a very efficient use of your time to get policy recommendations implemented at both the state and the federal level. Okay. So my main message of the book is to be bold for the climate. So even if you haven't done something before, like I hadn't organized composting and recycling before, but I did it at the Little Leagues, or hadn't been a columnist before, but I thought, okay, what the hell, I'll just give it a try. And so if you see something that needs to be done in your town to protect the climate, you could be the person that makes the change. And it doesn't necessarily have to take that much time. So that's it. You too can save the planet in your spare time. And do we have some time for questions? Okay, so any questions? Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to congratulate you for doing this, and it's really grassroots individual efforts that really make this or whatever you're interested in work. And getting that word out in a very straightforward, simplistic way, I think is very good. So congratulate you. I have to tell you that my wife and I have some of our most energetic discussions, let's say, when we debate which bin an object should go in. Anyway, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? No? Well, I did bring copies of my book. If anyone is interested in getting the book, it's with taxes, just $11, and I also take Venmo. So I hope you like the checklist and you find it useful in your daily lives. And I really appreciate the opportunity to present to the Pleasanton Rotary Club. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of presentations to Rotary clubs because Rotarians get things done. So get things done for the climate. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you so much. Nice presentation. We do have an opportunity drawing at this time. Did you buy a ticket? Joy?
Okay, we have $88 in we have $88 in this little bucket. And we'll have the president, please choose 2 tickies. Okay, thank you. First number, 696. 696. And I can guarantee there is a red one in here. Okay. Bill, do you have it?
Bill 696. Keep checking.
No? Okay. Let's do the next one. I know somebody got it. 699. Bill. Okay, Bill. Let's choose. I'm gonna choose another one if he doesn't get it. So I know there's a red one in here. I want you to find it. Is that it? This may take a while, guys. Yes. Okay, Bill. Okay. Okay, look, we gotta choose another one because we didn't have the paper on the first one.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Perez,
Right.
don't look.
Not looking. Got Bill's name on it.
This number is 693. Come on, 693. What is going on? I know I chose right ones. Okay. Choose another one. Oh, Bob didn't leave. Okay, let's go for 697. I know it's. Thank you, Bill. Okay, Bill, you have another. Well, this is my costume.
That's true.
Only one.
Neither one.
This is your, this is your mentor bike. It takes so long to do.
This is weekly excitement.
Okay. Let's no, it's a blue one. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Kathy, and thank you for playing, Bill.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
Before you wrap up, I forgot to mention something that we share. I want to remind folks that there is a walk for HERS Breast Cancer Foundation this coming Saturday morning in Fremont. So if you're at all interested in participating in that, please contact me, let me know, and I'll get you the information. You can register at the walk if you'd like to. There's a 5K, 10K walk, very similar to what we do for the Spirit Run, but it's a great thing to support is the HERS Breast Cancer Foundation. It's one of my pet charities that I do. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. At this time, this meeting is adjourned.